Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Scrum. I'm Kevin Rouch in Studio B. Take two. No, in Studio B at the Elmwood Media Complex. Again, I'm Kevin Rouch. Today is Wednesday, June 4th. We are glad to have you alongside as we fade out the band. Today we finally get back to playoffs. Playoffs. Yeah, we finally get back to playoffs. The NHL gets underway tonight. We are going to be talking to Ed Francis from First Ohio Battery in mere moments about the NHL playoffs and about the Blue Jackets. I got some questions for him. He wrote an article this week about some guys that will not be coming back. He says 5 in the headline, but he means 8, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. The NBA finals get underway tomorrow. We've just been without some days of sports action at night to be able to turn on. It will be the Pacers at the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow night. That is Thursday the 5th. 8:30 p.m., they'll drop the puck, or sometime shortly thereafter, on ABC tonight. The NHL playoffs will be on TNT, and they'll get started at 8 o'clock. We'll talk to our good friend Ed Francis, our first second-time guest on this program. So we'll look forward to having him back. I just wanted, before we have him on, had a chance to spend a little bit of time downtown today. And, I've just reached the age where it's good to hang out with old friends, to renew relationships, keep relationships. I hope that we're all doing that. I'm of an age where we didn't have a chance with social media to do that in our 20s and 30s. So we lost track of some people, and that's regrettable. Today I had lunch with an old high school friend, Kevin Bush, today lawyer here in town in Columbus. He and I were lab partners in physics in Zanesville at Zanesville High School. We once blew up and the true story, it didn't blow up the physics classroom. We blew a fuse that turned out the lights in that part of the school. So we'll talk about that someday. I'll have him on. We can relive that. But we had lunch today downtown and just talking about old times, and there's just nothing like it. It's nothing like hanging out with people that you grew up with, because you can't, there's no bluffing. There's no faking with them. They know where you came from. They know your parents. They know your siblings. They know all about you. So you just get to strip away that whatever varnish you put on for other people, and you hang out and talk about old times and wondered what happened to that person or remember this. And we did that for a couple hours at lunch today. That was a lot of fun. So Kevin, if you're listening out there, enjoyed it, and we'll catch up. And we've talked about going to visit friends of ours that aren't in Columbus and see if we can find them out and about. Also stopped by my most recent law firm, Abner Weicker. Great education law firm representing students and teachers and administrators. And I kind of semi-retired from there, but I stopped by there and had a chance to catch up with just about everyone. So nothing like old friends. And speaking of old friends, we now have our very good friend Ed Francis with us. Ed, are you there? Let's see. This is just the way it goes. Ed, can you hear me? We did this the first time, Ed. Ed, are you there? Let's see if we can find him. Oh, we got to put up the right fader. Did we do that? Ed? I'll tell you what, we did this the first time, and we've since corrected everything and checked the boxes and done all that stuff, but I don't know why we can't. Let's see. Let's try something else here real quick. And maybe he'll call me back. Nope, he's still there. Let's see. Ed, hang on there. Don't go anywhere. Yesterday it was seamless. I just want you to know. Let's see if I can make this work. Ed. I don't know what to tell you. Ed, I'm going to call you. So let's do that. I'm jinxed with him. But we will make this work because we've got a lot to talk to him about. Let's see if we can make it work. I'm going to switch this to my speaker. Ed, are you there?
I'm here. Am I there?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see if we got everything cooking here. Hold on, just hang with me for a second. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm hanging. You said yesterday was seamless, which surprised me with a baseball announcer on. I figured that would be seams.
We always have seams. We like using the seams, as it turns out. Hey, sorry about that, but I don't know what it is. We'll get the engineers.
Okay. I think last week it was you had to call me too.
Yeah.
I think maybe you have to make the call.
Okay. Well, we're going to work that through. It's like the golfer that goes back out to the driving range at the end of, the day to fix some stuff. We will stay deep into the day to get this done. But while we have you, and first of all, thanks for being the first second-time caller.
Hey,
guest.
Thanks for having me around a second time.
It is awesome, by the way. And we will make it better. But having said all of that, it is really good to be back with sports tonight, right?
It felt like I wanted the Stanley Cup playoffs and I wanted the Stanley Cup finals. And now that it's here, I'm sad because I know, even though it's going to be a good at least 4 or 5, almost definitely 6 or 7 games, like this is it. This is the last hurrah until September. So for that reason, I'm sad. It's like when you're having a really good meal.
Yeah.
And you get down to those last couple bites.
Yeah.
And now you just kind of want to savor it.
Well,
but you also just want to get it going too.
Yeah, no, right. And it's a rematch. We've talked about it for the last couple of weeks, the possibilities, and now it's here of last year. And I feel like with Florida and Edmonton, of course, they'll start in Edmonton tonight. So that's one change, right? Is that they've got the home, advantage, right? Because 7th game would end up there this year if it goes that far.
Important last year. Florida had home ice last year, and Florida won Game 7 at home.
And coming from behind, right? Outscored them 3-1 in that third period to get the win.
Well, yeah, and Florida was up 3-0 in that series last year. Won their first 2 at home, kind of held serve there, and then went to Edmonton, where Edmonton won, 4, 5, and 6. And it was, okay, is this going to be this epic collapse? But like you said, they had Game 7 at home, and they were able to get those couple of goals late to win it. And I don't like it, but I think it's going to be the same thing this year.
Same thing in that Florida will win it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And you're not partial to them because they got a couple of former Blue Jackets on that team?
No, it's not for that reason, actually. Unless it's my team.
Yeah.
My teams, I'm not a fan of back-to-back champions.
Okay.
But I'm not a big Florida hockey guy.
Yeah.
I don't love the way that the Panthers play. I mean, they're talented. Like there's no argument there. They're super talented. Probably the deepest team in the league as well. But their style of play, it teeters on dirty, and I don't like a team that plays dirty.
Yeah.
And so I'll be rooting for Edmonton for that reason, and also because, to be candid with you, I just want to see Connor McDavid get that cup. I think he deserves it. He's been in the league long enough now. They have every reason to want to get their revenge, right? And I'd love for them to, but I don't see how they can match Florida.
Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting about Edmonton last year, and we've pointed out a couple times on the show, is that McDavid and Draisaitl only one goal last year combined.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not going to happen in this go around.
And you would think that you wouldn't get to Game 7 last year doing that. Some other guys stepped up, but they're going to have to, for them to win, they're going to have to play well.
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario because in most every matchup, you would say a team that has two of the 4 to 6 best players in the league with McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. If a team has 2 of the 4 or 5, 6 best players in the league, you're normally going to make them the favorite. I think that where things go a little sideways is that Florida probably has the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and the 7th best player.
And the goaltender probably that's playing better.
They certainly have the goaltending advantage. Yeah, no doubt about that. So, between McDavid and Draisaitl, I think the two of them are good enough for 1 or 2 wins on their own, regardless of who the supporting cast is. But over a 7-game series, I don't know how you match the depth that the Panthers have. I think that's in large part the reason that Florida was able to hoist the cup last year. And they're an even deeper team this year. Now, this offseason, they may have some decisions to make. And so some of that depth may go elsewhere. But, I mean, look, you got a team that added, the rat at the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah.
And he had made the comment recently of, when I got traded to Florida, I was looking at the roster. I'm like, where do I fit in here? I'm going to be I think he said a 3rd or 4th line guy. And it's funny, he's certainly not a bottom 6 guy, but you could also reasonably understand why he would come to that conclusion when you look at just how stacked they are, especially between the pipes as well with Bobrovsky, but especially their forward group, and then going out and getting Seth Jones at the deadline as well. That was a big get, or a little bit before the deadline. That was a huge get for him as well.
Yeah, and he's a great point on their power play, and really he made a difference there. It's funny that the rat goes to a place where they throw rats on the ice and now shoot them at him on the way off the ice.
Yeah.
Just bizarre. But now, having said all of that, Edmonton, a lot of people were worried because they lost a couple of guys to offer sheets to Dallas, right? And then
St. Louis.
Oh, I'm sorry, to St. Louis, right? St. Louis, and then a lot of people are arguing they have improved their team as well.
Yeah, they are better. Both teams are better. But I go back to depth, and boy, if both teams are equally better, I guess maybe home ice is the one thing that could flip the series this time around. But
I mean, do you think? And again, boy, you hate to be overly dramatic because we never do that in sports, but.
No.
But is this a must win? Tonight in Edmonton, because you want to set the tone if you're Edmonton that you're in this, that you can do this.
I want to say yes, but the reason I avoid saying yes is they fell behind 3-0 last year and pulled it back to Game 7. Now, I don't think that's realistic. They certainly can't fall behind 3-0 again, or the series is over, and maybe even over in 4 games at that point. I wouldn't say it's an absolute must. I think if you get the split at home and then you get the split in Florida, if you were to ask the Oilers right now, will you take a 2-2 series headed into Game 5 when 2 of the last 3 are in your barn? I would think they probably take that against a team like Florida.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, it's the Stanley Cup Finals. Every game in its own way is a must-win, right?
Yeah.
But I think that if you are Edmonton, you go down, 1-0. Maybe it's a game that goes into overtime or that ends, late in regulation, where they just can't get it tied up, or an empty net goal. If it's close through those first 55 to 58 minutes. Yeah, I think at that point you tell yourself, okay, we're in this. Um, but I wouldn't say it's an absolute must. I don't think the series ends tonight if Florida comes out and wins game one. Now, maybe if it's one of those, 5-0, 6-1 games, that could be pretty deflating.
Yeah.
But I don't see any of the games in this series being decided by more than a goal or two.
Yeah.
It's evenly matched. I always give the edge to the depth. It matters.
Yep.
That's why there's so many teams that go out at the deadline and try to add depth. It may not be a big splash, but that's what these teams need.
All right. So what should we look for tonight in terms of matchups? Kind of keys to the, getting to a win tonight. Obviously both arenas are going to be packed. They're both going to be exciting, have a lot going. There's going to be a lot of Canadian spirit to finally win a cup for north of the borders for, it's been a long time. So what do you see as keys tonight?
Yeah, I think that you kind of alluded to it earlier. Last year, Florida wins the cup and really did a great job of shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl. Can they do that again? McDavid's been really hot lately. He's got 3 goals in his last 3 games in the series against Dallas there. If they can contain him, I think that you're looking at a series that is going to get into desperation mode for Edmonton really fast. Now, if he comes out as he has been through the most of the postseason, guns a-blazing, as they say, then I think you're looking at a series that could flip itself. So that's my first key is what do they do against both McDavid and Draisaitl, but especially McDavid. And then also, how's Bob look in game one? He's for the most part been locked in. There have been a couple of games where he hasn't looked so good. So what kind of version of Bobrovsky do we get in the playoffs? And then also, if you're Florida, don't let Edmonton get on the power play.
Oh, right. Yep.
Dallas had to learn that the hard way. Edmonton's had one of the best power plays in the league over the last number of years. Basically, in the McDavid era, they've always been a top 5 or so power play. If Florida can stay out of the box, if Bobrovsky can play well, and if they can shut down McDavid, then Florida's going to win this in maybe 5 games. If you look at 2 of those 3 things happening, maybe it's a 6 or 7 game series. And if only one of those things happen, that's where we start to get into Edmonton's got a real chance at this thing. But I think those are the big things that it comes down to. And then also health. Both teams are pretty healthy right now.
Zach Hyman would be the big name, that is going to be missed. But, we'll see if that has any impact, right?
Yeah, and going back to what I said earlier, part of it depends on Florida's nature of play. When they get rattled, they tend to try to hurt people. I mean, to be candid about it. And do they try to do that again on the grandest stage? No, maybe. I hope not. I'd like to see a clean series, but that really hasn't been Florida's MO over these playoffs and last season as well.
Well, I think depends upon the officiating and how much they let go, and they tend to, like in all sports, let a little bit more go in the playoffs. So it'd be interesting to see. Now, you wrote on First Ohio Battery, where you are a contributor and kind of general all-around guy, but you had an article on Monday, so I'd commend people. When you do First, it's the number 1 in ST, so firstohiobattery.com. But you wrote an article about the 5 Blue Jackets that you believe will not be back. And it's really 8 because you had the 3 guys that have not played very much or did not play very much. But talk about that a little bit, and let's run through that list, and not to have you, talk verbatim about your article because people should read it. But talk about the players that you listed there. I'm in agreement with Jordan Harris, and we'll get to him in a minute, maybe the one that I think might have a chance. But having said all of that, Let's run down through that list. The first you listed, well, give us the first three that didn't play very much.
Yeah, so Kevin LeBanc, Christian Fisher, and Luke Kunin. I mean, they were in the case of the last two, deadline acquisitions that didn't really, in Fisher's case, only played one game and didn't really contribute much on the scoreboard, and eventually saw minutes that either drifted off or for the last couple of weeks of the season, neither one of them were in the lineup. They're unrestricted veteran free agents. It didn't really seem like they were able to ever really find their groove, and I just don't think either of them will be back. Same with Kevin LeBanc. Started out really good. I believe he had 9 points in his first 13 games. Was looking at a really good, maybe middle to bottom six player. The production trailed off. Then there was the season-ending surgery right around the time of the Four Nations break, and it doesn't feel like he's someone that's going to be back into the fold. So, I don't really think there's an expectation that any of those guys are back, but I think that where you get into the list of five, where there could be some names that surprise people, that list started with Sean Corrali, and
yeah,
you and
who
I
we love
side by side.
Yeah,
He's a great guy. Columbus kid. And I think that, the day after the season ended, he had the press conference, and you and I were, I believe, sitting side by side for that one. And, you could tell when he was in that press conference that was kind of it. He could kind of feel that the writing was on the wall, and mentioned, he took a couple extra looks around and up, not knowing what the future may hold for him. I still certainly think he's a valuable NHL player for a team out there. It just doesn't feel like Columbus is that team anymore. I would love to be surprised. Would love for him to come back. Great on the penalty kill, great kind of grinder, physical guy who's not afraid to get dirty, get 10 to 12 minutes a night playing in that fourth line center role. Decent enough on faceoffs, but it just feels like his time here is coming to an end, and I could see him going to a team that needs a little more of a veteran presence that's kind of right there on the doorknob. Utah comes to mind, the newly named Mammoth. I could see him going to a club like that and providing that same veteran role that he's provided here over the last few years.
Yeah, and I mean he'll be missed. And I know you don't hold on to somebody because they always go out and greet the goalie and keep them rallied up, but there is something nice about that. There's something nice about what that adds to the room and to the general spirit of the team and kind of to the history of the team. But there's a lot of young guys, as you say, kind of knocking at the door, and let's see where they go. Second, you've named Jack Johnson, which I think everyone understands. Kind of his second iteration here. Had a lot of healthy scratches, but a guy who, again, people look to because of, he won a cup. And once you win a cup, people know that, and it matters. And his presence, especially at practice, was always important.
Yeah, and I had mentioned in my writing about this, he's the kind of guy where I could see him not necessarily on the ice anymore, but still somewhere in the organization. If it's a coaching or a scouting role, I could certainly see him, or as an advisor to the front office, I could certainly see him kind of, adopting one of those roles and staying with the franchise for the long haul. And if not in Columbus, either in Los Angeles, where he spent a bulk of his time, or somewhere else. He kind of seems like the kind of guy who wants to, really just spend his life in the game of hockey. And I think that those opportunities are going to be out there. Will it be in Columbus, and will it be this offseason? Maybe not right off the bat. But I don't think that we've seen the last of Jack Johnson in the NHL in some capacity. I just don't think it's on the ice anymore at his age. And I think that he kind of knows that as well. This season, he was able to play in half the games, had a few assists in there, but limited minutes, healthy scratch for long chunks of the season. And it's not that it's not that he is not a good player. It's just, time does eventually catch up to all of us, right?
Yep. That was, I could have written that story about 30 years ago. But number 3, you have Danil Tarasov. And I think we all see this, happening. He just has had either injury issues, or when he does get in, it's a bad stretch, not just for him, but for the team. And he just, ever since he kind of came on strong as a young player, had that back injury, in my opinion, just never seemed to kind of recover from that in a consistent way.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And I think that part of that just comes down to the fact that he wasn't able to play consistently enough. The team did earlier in this most recent season, when he was coming off one of those injuries that you had mentioned. The team did offer, a conditioning stint in Cleveland that he had declined at one point, and then accepted a second time around. Played in a couple of games back to back, but with Elvis Merzlikins getting a bulk of the starts when he was relatively hot, and that, kind of third to middle point of the season when he was playing his best hockey of the year, there just wasn't a lot of opportunity for Tarasov to get playing time. I think that in hindsight, taking that time in Cleveland may have been for the best for him. He opted not to, and that's his decision. But I think that where we get into a matter of this offseason is that you're looking at a guy who is, sub 900 in the save percentage, both for the season and for his career, well over 3 goals a game. And those are, at least as I see it, those are kind of your barometers. Can you save more than 90% of the shots that you face? And can you get that goals against average at 3, or maybe even a little bit less? And he struggled to do that. His goals against average this season was closer to 4 than it was 3. And the team has hinted that there won't be any buyouts. They've hinted that there's probably not going to be a trade market for Elvis. Those 2 hints lead me to believe that Elvis Merzlikins will be back with the team next year. And you certainly can't leave Jet Greaves off the roster. Obviously, those last couple weeks of the season was just dynamite. Almost got the Jackets into the playoffs single-handedly, if we want to be candid about it. But even in his smaller sample sizes this season, and a little bit last season as well, he's proven himself. And when the official NHL season comes to an end here at the end of this month, starting on July 1st, on day 1 of free agency in the 25-26 season, as the league sees it, Jet Greaves' contract goes to a one-way. So even if he's in Cleveland at that point, they're still going to be paying him his full NHL salary. Teams don't like to do that, which leads me to believe that Greaves is in Columbus next year, maybe as a backup, maybe as a tandem, and then we'll kind of see if he stays as hot to start next season as he did to end this past season. Then, I think that question kind of answers itself as to who your number 1 is. But it looks like both of those guys are going to be in the fold, and that, unfortunately for Tarasov, means that the restricted free agent probably goes elsewhere. Does he stick around in the NHL? It's a possibility, but I could also see him wanting to go overseas and continue his career in either the KHL or another major non-American league.
We're going to talk about goalies here a little bit when we finish this list. After the next 2, I want to go over the prospects and the people that are down the line a little bit for the Blue Jackets. And again, Tarasov is an RFA. And I agree. I think we'll see him probably in the KHL or in the league down from that, depending on what he wants to do. Jordan Harris, you name as number 4, got him in the Line A trade with Montreal. He went through kind of spurts of playing time. Pretty athletic guy, but there are just too many young guys that want those spots on the blue line.
Yeah, there's too many young guys, and then beyond that, there's also Don Waddell's candor that he really wants to improve the blue line this year. If you think about it from that perspective, if he wants to improve his blue line, and you had a guy who was scratched more often than not this season, and now that player doesn't have a contract for the coming season, those are pretty clear indications that you don't have an interest in that player being on your team for the long haul.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Zach Werenski's going to be back. There's no doubt about it. That Goodbranson's going to be back. There's no doubt about it that Damon Severson's going to be back. And Severson had probably the worst year of his NHL career. But the reality is, with his contract still having, I believe, 5 or 6 years left on it, and he's not cheap, there's not going to be a trade market. A buyout's not an option. So no matter how you slice it, Severson's looking to be on the roster. They want to bring back Dante Fabro. They want to bring back Ivan Provorov. You've got Denton Mateychuk, who certainly has a spot next year. So when you start to look at all of that, and you start to take into consideration that Waddell wants to add to the blue line, and we're probably looking at, not a depth addition. We're probably looking at him wanting to bring in either someone to pair with Werenski, because Fabro isn't probably a long-term top pairing defenseman, at least not on a team that's hoping to take that next step. Or at the very least, he's looking to add kind of that second pairing guy. Elimination process is going to tell us there's going to be a couple guys who may not be around. And then even beyond that, you've got Jake Christensen under contract. Damon Hunt, who was acquired in the David Juracek trade, he's still under contract. So Jack Johnson, obviously out, as we had talked about, but I think that you're looking at Jordan Harris as another guy who there's just not going to be room for.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier that I thought I don't think he's played his best hockey. I think he's a good athlete. I think he had some great games, frankly, with the Blue Jackets. So, he's just one of those where you just shake your head. But even a bigger, shaker of the head on my side of things, you're number 5. And I know you feel the same way about this as Justin Danforth.
Yeah, it's, Here's the simplest thing I can say is I think Danforth would probably like to be a Blue Jacket next year, and I think that the Blue Jackets would like to have Danforth back next year. But both of those have asterisk, and they're both asterisk with a $sign written right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Danforth is the kind of guy who almost like when we were talking about Sean Corrali earlier, he's a player that a team is going to value, and I would say probably overvalue a little bit, because he doesn't have size, but he's got a lot of grit. He's not big, but he's very physical. He can score. He's a good center. He can play right wing. He can play left wing. He could probably play defense if you wanted him, lined up on the blue line. Someone is going to offer him more money than Columbus is. When you're a guy like Danforth and you didn't come into the league until your late 20s, and now you're looking at, your early 30s, this is probably the one time in his career that he's going to be able to go and get that bag of money, as they say. And I don't think he should be faulted for it. But I don't think that it's something that the Blue Jackets are going to be able, not that they couldn't match it, they certainly have the cap room, but that when you look at the direction of the forwards and who might be coming in, I think that you're looking at it just being one of those best for both party moves, where he moves on, he takes his money, plays an important role with a playoff team, and we wish him the best of luck next year. Hopefully not with Florida, who's going to be going for a third cup, right?
There are just too many Blue Jackets to watch on that team. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, right.
Now, before I let you go, so our friends at CBJ Prospects put up a list, which is public. I don't feel bad about using it, just to list the goaltenders that are in the pipeline. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. We've already talked about most of this. The NHL contracts are Merzlikins and Greaves. We know that. And as you mentioned on July 1, that takes hold. Free agents, we've talked about Tarasov. He's a restricted free agent. More than likely, at least our opinions today, he'll end up in a foreign league someplace and may bounce back at some point. The other free agent, which is an unrestricted free agent, is Zach Sawchenko, who played a lot with Cleveland. But I'm going to talk about these younger names here in a minute, which is why I think he may end up someplace else. You've got Nolan Lalonde, whose name pops up all the time. He is AHL eligible. I will think he's going to be in Cleveland for the long haul next year, along with, I think Evan Gardner. Now, I don't know if he can go back to Saskatoon or not in the Western Hockey League, but I like him a lot. And he's one of those not smaller, but shorter guys with a lot of quickness to get across the goal mouth. So I think I possibly be Lalonde and Gardner in Cleveland next year. And then you've got Ivanov, who played in the KHL, I don't think has come across yet in any capacity. And then the one that everyone talks about is Melvin Strahl, who will be playing at Michigan State with Caden Lindstrom this year. So tell us your thoughts about all of them.
Yeah, I think that there's plenty to like. And I would agree with you from the little bits that I've seen Evan Gardner play. I really like what there is there.
And just to let people know, he's playing for the Saskatoon Blades in the Western Hockey League and had a really nice season this year out there. So.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk as well that depending on how things shake out with trades and the Blue Jackets having the 14th and the 20th overall pick, you can't really find a mock draft right now that doesn't have the Blue Jackets making a rare move and getting a goalie in the first round if they do end up keeping one or potentially both of those picks, and that's Joshua Ravensburger. And if they do go that route, I think that's going to be a pretty clear signal where they see their goalie prospects as a whole, including Gardner. How comfortable is the team with some of their guys who are in that kind of 19 to 22-year-old range? So I think that that's actually worth keeping an eye on, not to see necessarily, are we going to get this new, first-round lock goalie or not? But if they take him, that's a pretty clear indication that maybe they're not as high on some of these guys as we may think. But I'm with you all the way on Evan Gardner. I think that there's a lot to like there. Again, I personally have a limited sample size on that, but from what I have seen, I like it. And then with Melvin Strahl going to Michigan State, yeah, him and Caden Lindstrom, that the future of Columbus might be in East Lansing.
Right.
Yeah, we shall see.
It shifted from Ann Arbor and went up the road a little bit.
It's all these Michigan hockey players, not just from the whole state.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who knows what the future holds? Maybe that road will head down this way at some point. Hey, thank you.
It's going east. Penn State is getting everyone.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen. Have you seen a game over there ever?
No, at Penn State I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't either.
No.
I've been
there for a football game. It's a terrible experience.
Well, it's that one road, that 2-lane road going up into State College. So, it gets a little hairy.
A lot of farmland, and then 110,000 people that hate you.
Yeah, a lot. But maybe hockey,
right around the bend.
Maybe that's worth the roadie, though. Maybe we'll go see Michigan State play there. How about that?
Or Ohio State.
Either one. Yeah, either one. We'll make the trip. It's a way to do it. Hey, thank you for being the first 2-time guest ever in the history of the Daily Scrum.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And
you brought me back. That's more than I ever could have hoped for.
Well, you're coming back next week too, because we'll have to talk more about what's been happening then in the playoffs and why we were right.
Could be over by next Wednesday.
Well, let's hope not. I want to watch some games.
I'm hoping it goes 6, and I do. I think that it does go 6 or 7. I'm going Florida in 6.
Yeah.
And I only go with that because I can't shake this feeling that they are going to win it at home for a second straight year. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong.
Tell you what, I'm going with Edmonton in 7, and we'll do a lunch on this.
Deal.
Okay. All right.
Somewhere with your mushrooms.
Yeah, that's right. Now be careful when you say that, because what you meant was there's a place that Ed and I eat, and they've got a great patty melt with mushrooms on it, not anything extracurricular. So
yes.
Yeah.
These are all of curricular.
Yeah, semi-curricular. Okay. Hey, Ed, thanks. We'll be checking in with you through, and thanks for helping us out. Means a lot to what we're trying to do here at CBUS and the Daily Scrum. So thank you. Enjoy and by the way, folks, go read Ed's stuff at First Ohio Battery. It's the way that I try to sound smart. I read his stuff and then regurgitate it in a very affectionate, non-gross way.
You always sound smart. Don't sell yourself short.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Ed Francis, everybody. Ed, we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for having me.
See ya. That was Ed Francis, helping us out. Sound smart. And he's got Florida in 6, which would end in Florida. And I've got Edmonton in 7, ending, of course, up north of the border. So we'll look for that. And then, of course, we'll keep track of all these. We'll talk more about the draft as we get closer to that. There's a big watch party you can register for. If you go to the Blue Jackets website, they're going to do it at Nationwide. Big draft day. While I've got you, let's see if we can find that real quick. It never is quick when I should have had that pulled up. Let's see if we can get on that real quick. Well, you know what? We'll talk about it tomorrow. We got plenty of time before the draft. So we'll dial that up, get you all the information. Maybe we'll try to get in there and do a little something at the draft party for the Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena. See who they pick. They do have 2 first-round picks, and will one of them be a goaltender? That we'll have to, again, go over that conversation again as we get there. A couple things we want to talk about before we get done today. We went to the Clippers game. I went to the Clippers game last night. We've got a story up on CBUS Sports. It's the lead story about how they put an end to that 7-game losing streak, 6 of them in Rochester last week. And last night against Toledo, they played well. They won it 6-1. 3 home runs. We've got a couple of photos up. Jonathan Rodriguez went out of the park. CJ Kafis went out of the park, as did Brian Rocchio. And the pitching was great. Vince Velasquez, who is a veteran, played in the Philadelphia organization for a long time, but he had a great outing. Went almost 6 innings of scoreless baseball. And then they just allowed 1. The relief corps just allowed 1 and got really the easy win, 6-1 in front of a packed house at Huntington Park. It was Dime a Dog night. Now they've expanded. When I was there, when I tried to do that and get hot dogs for a dime each, it was out in the left field corner. But now they have several places in the stadium, but the lines were all incredibly long. I mean, a dime a hot dog. I mean, you're putting those in your pocket and taking them home. But they had a great night last night. Lots of fans, lots of noise, lots of life in the ballpark. And one of the most beautiful places to watch minor league or baseball, period, but certainly minor league baseball. And the Clippers did a nice job getting the 6-1 win, closing the door on that losing streak. They will go again tonight against Toledo, 7:05 start at Huntington Park. Aaron Davenport is going to go. He had a really nice couple of seasons, including the beginning of this season in Akron. He, this year, though, tough sledding in his first outing. And last game started out tough, but then he settled down. He has yet to record a win or a loss, and he's got a high ERA because of the first innings of the last 2 games. But he'll get his third start tonight, may be settled in a little bit more, and he will take on Rochester's Lael Lockhart. And that will go tonight, as we say, at 7:05. But always great to go to Huntington Park. Chris Sprague is the media director there. He always takes really good care of us, and we enjoyed it greatly. In fact, the general manager, we had a chance to talk to a little bit. Tyler Parsons, the new general manager and president of the club, doing a great job. He came here from the Durham Bulls and except for the weather. I mean, that's where he's got to be pulling his hair out. The weather was just awful in the first part of the season, especially when the team was at home. But last night was perfect, just absolutely perfect, and we'll hope to get a few more of those games in. But we're going to have Tyler on the show with us here soon, hopefully next week, and we'll talk to him about coming to Columbus from North Carolina and what he has enjoyed so far and what he's working on with the team, because and I'll tell you, one of the great days, if you want to go out economically for your family, I think the best thing in town is, in terms of sports, maybe everything, is Sundays, usually a 1:05 start at Huntington Park. And this week is Princesses and Pirates, so there's even something extra going on. But you can get a family in the park. You can have 2 adults and up to 4 kids or people 60 and older, and go out, and you can sit on the lawn or in the bleachers over the outfield wall, that portion of the bleachers. You can get the family in for $18. That is crazy. And if you want to get a reserve seat with those numbers, it's $27 a flat fee to get into the park. That is crazy. So we would tell you, really any night, you're going to have a nice crowd, and the baseball's great, and you're going to see, like, Toledo feeds into Detroit. You're going to see some players going up and down with Detroit, and of course Columbus. If you don't know, they feed the Cleveland Guardians, and they've got people here like Chase DeLauder right now, who is a definite prospect. You've got Joey Cantillo, who's back after having spent the first part of the season with Cleveland. So you're going to be able to get a lot of feeling for depth for whatever teams are coming in, and with the Clippers. Just a lot of fun to watch. A lot of things going on between innings, crazy contests, Diamond Dog Night on Tuesdays, the Family Day on Sundays, other things going on that I would just tell you, check out the Columbus Clippers website. We don't get paid to say that. It would be nice if we got paid to say that, but we don't. And so we say it honestly to you. Sundays, if you've got a big family and you want to get in to see a ball game, really go. You got 4 kids and you can go to some place for $18 to get in with, a couple of parents and 4 kids. That's crazy. So yeah, commend it. And of course they won last night. They'll play tonight again at 7:05. You can watch the game for free on the Bally app. Or if you are a subscriber to MLB.TV or MILB for minor league baseball.tv, you can watch it. And I believe it will be, we know it'll be Ryan Mitchell, who we talked to on this show yesterday, but Bob McElligott, I think, is working with him again tonight. He did last night, the radio voice of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So you can watch, because their radio will be put over the video that I just mentioned. Or if you're just doing radio, you're sitting out in the yard, just want to turn on the radio like I do and just listen, you can get them on Fox Sports 920 a.m. And that game time is 7:05. All right. Clippers, great experience last night. We'll try to get out there once more in this series. Got some nice photos out there last night. Want to talk about Ohio High School going on, the state lacrosse brackets, a couple of games last night in the girls, a couple of games in the boys, actually one involving a Central Ohio team. In the girls, Olentangy Liberty moves on to the state finals Saturday. They beat Hudson 12-8. Upper Arlington just overwhelmed Cincinnati Sycamore 19-4. So it'll be Olentangy Liberty and Upper Arlington schools that know each other well. They will play at 1 o'clock this Saturday, the 7th of June, and I will be at that game. In Division 2, actually, the other, by the way, I want to look through here real quick. Division 2 girls, they play tonight, and the one Columbus area team playing tonight is DeSales plays Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy, and they'll be playing that at Kettering Fairmont High School over in the Dayton area. But again, DeSales and Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy, 7 o'clock tonight at Fairmont, Kettering Fairmont High School. They'll play the winner of Bay Village Bay, who was in the state finals last year, and Hathaway Brown out of Shaker Heights. They also play tonight. So those are the girls. Let's talk about the boys. The game last night involving a Central Ohio team, Bishop Watterson beat Cincinnati Marymount 13-7. So big win for Watterson. They will play Worcester, you choose, who beat Rocky River in a close game 10-8. So to be Watterson and Worcester at 4 o'clock next Sunday, or this upcoming Sunday, and we'll be there for that. And when we say there, we mean Historic Crew Stadium. That's where all of the final games are again this year. So Watterson and Worcester will be Sunday at 4. And then on the other boys' side in Division 1, 2 Central Ohio teams going tonight. Dublin Jerome and Cleveland St. Ignatius will be playing at Ashland University, Jack Miller Stadium. That's a 7 o'clock game. And then Worthington Kilbourne will be playing at Wittenberg University for a right to go to the finals, and they'll be playing Cincinnati St. Xavier, St. X, and Kilbourne at 7 o'clock at Edwards Maurer Field at Wittenberg University tonight, and they'll play the winner of St. Ignatius and Dublin Jerome at 1 o'clock, and that will be on Sunday at Historic Crew Stadium. So that's what's going on. We'll wait for tonight's results and do kind of a summary for everybody to know what's coming up for the weekend. So stay tuned for that. And then the softball brackets, we're just going to remind you about. Not sure. We were going to try to go tomorrow morning to see Liberty Union play at the 10 o'clock game at Akron's Firestone Stadium. But rain, and we kind of tight window for us to come back and do the show. So that may not happen. We'll kind of wait and see how all that plays out. But you've got, of course, Liberty Union in Division 5. You've got Mount Vernon playing in Division 2, and Lancaster playing in Division 1. Lancaster beat Gahanna. That was the big game so far this season, but Lancaster moves on. They will play this weekend, as will Mount Vernon. Sorry, just looking at the wrong page. And then Liberty Union will play tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Boy, hopefully they'll stay in there tonight so they don't have to travel early in the morning. I'm sure that's what's going on. Liberty Union is the defending state champs, although we now have a different number of divisions, right? Because we've gone to 7 divisions now in softball. And so Liberty Union, a defending champ, kind of floating in the ether above. And there was, what did we play in, 3 or 4? Can't remember now. It's been a whole year ago. But they're in Division 5 now, and they will be playing tomorrow morning, and we'll keep track of that. If we don't go, we will certainly we'll talk about what happened going on there. I also mentioned that we've got track and field coming up this weekend. We will have people there to cover that, so we hope you'll look for that. In fact, we're going to try to do for tomorrow a list of all the Central Ohio teams and athletes that are participating. So you might look first thing tomorrow morning for that as you get ready for the state track meet this Friday back at Jesse Owens Memorial Field, where they are Memorial Stadium, They were rehabbing it last year, and it was over in Dayton, who did a nice job, frankly. But back at Ohio State this year, and we will be there. So, again, look for that list tomorrow morning on cbusports.com of the athletes competing. And if one of the Central Ohio teams didn't have the best athlete, it will show you who in the regionals, the 4 regionals, had the best time or distance or throw or whatever. You'll be able to see all of that tomorrow morning. Our trivia to end things today. Boy, it's been a full hour today. And long, good conversation with Ed Francis today, First Ohio Battery. But let's get to trivia. All the way to yesterday, we asked you to name one of the 3 high schools that began playing lacrosse in the year 1882. They were the first high school lacrosse players to compete, or teams to compete. And this is per USA Lacrosse, by the way. So those 3 high schools, we just wanted you to name one of them. Consider yourself guessed correctly if you did. But they were, you can imagine, they were the kind of upper-class boarding schools on the East Coast. Phillips Academy, which is better known as Andover in Massachusetts, Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, and the Lawrenceville School in New Jersey. So again, it was Phillips Academy, known as Andover, that's in Massachusetts, Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, and the Lawrenceville School in New Jersey. Those were the 3 high schools that began playing lacrosse. Of course, important this week because of our championships here in the state of Ohio. Today's question, because Ed Francis was here and the NHL playoffs start tonight, we are going to ask you about who has scored the most goals in NHL playoff history. The first 2 are easy, so we're going to make you name the 3rd best, because Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier, that's easy. We're not going to let you do that easy. Who is the 3rd highest on the list of goal scorers in the NHL playoffs? And we'll answer that for you tomorrow. Well, it has been a good day here at the Daily Scrum. We hope you've enjoyed it. Hey, you know what? We're adding some new features next week because we're kind of learning on the job here about what people want. We've talked to some folks and keep talking. You can always email us, by the way, at info@cbussports.com, info@cbussports.com. There's 2 S's in the middle of CBus Sports, so there's actually 3 S's altogether. I probably made it worse. But you can let us know what you think. We hope that you will. You can always comment, too, by the way, during our live show. But we're looking to add what we can to make it a little bit more fun. And to the folks that I was able to reconnect with a little bit today, always go talk to your old friends. They know you the best. Kevin Bush, my lab partner in physics at Zanesville High School, had a chance to have lunch today. That was a few years ago. And the fine lawyers and staff at Abner Weicker law firm here in town, a great education law firm that I worked with for a while. Had a great time there. Great people. Good getting reconnected today just a little bit and then rush to Studio B to get things going. Well, that's going to do it for us today. I'm Kevin Rouch on behalf of the Daily Scrum saying good afternoon, everyone.